Hi there. My name is Annie Von Essen, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm dropping in today to offer you a few ideas for how to have something change from the place you're currently in before, or maybe instead of making the huge change to your life or your career. So, I already offered a video about 4 steps to take if you're really starting to feel like there's a big change, there's something in your career or your life, or maybe even a small transition that you're feeling called to and you want to do, right? So go back and check that video out if you're really feeling that. And before jumping into one more video around, like, all right, already, Annie, let's talk about actually making the big change, I wanted you to take a minute and pause and know that there are things you can do right now from where you're at if the big change or the shift or the transition isn't possible in this moment in the way that you want it, and yet something needs to change, right? In your job situation, maybe even in your living situation. So here's some ideas before or during the moments where you're making a bigger shift. So one thing is to first go back to the reflection questions that I offered in the video about having these four supportive things to do while you're thinking about a change. And the questions I offered up are: what is important? What is important to you? What is lighting you up and giving you joy? And what do you want to be different? So first of all, I would work on sitting with those questions, asking those questions, having some ideas about those 3 questions. And then the next thing I would look at is what is actually in your control within where you want the change to be. So let's say you're looking at a job change or maybe even a career change, something you know needs to happen and it can't quite happen yet, maybe for family reasons or financial reasons or logistical reasons. So what is within your control right now? What control do you have over the work you're doing, how you're interacting with your team, boundaries you set? What do you have control over? Your time, how it's used. These are just ideas. So think about that, because you can make changes and you can't change other people, right? So there may be some things that are really tough about a current situation, and you're not going to be able to shift the other human beings involved, really. I know we wish we could. So figure out where your area of control is. Make an actual list. And I probably said it before, but one of those areas is always how we're responding to something around us. And that's not always easy. That can take a lot of intentional work, but that's one of the things we can control. Another thing to look at when you're trying to have a shift or change happen from within where you're at right now, maybe before a bigger transition, is where is the room to add and make change in a totally different area of your life? Right. So if something is really coming up for you, maybe in your whole career path, you're like, I'm going to make a whole huge change. I feel it coming in the next year or 2 or 3 from what I have done for the last 10. I don't know, to what I'm going to do for the next 5. Just an example. While you're chewing on that, beginning to work on that, see if there's another, maybe smaller, maybe easier place to add some shift or some change in your life. Trying to think of an example. I'm thinking of a lot of it's small, but for me, I'm trying to work on how much really honestly time I have in front of screens during the day, because there's things I'm wanting to do differently inside my business, and I need different kinds of inputs. Like I need actual physical books, right? So one of the changes I'm making in my life right now that feels really good is love me some Netflix shows. Not saying I'm not watching them, but I'm trying to read more books in the evening. And focusing on that actually is taking some of these things, take kind of the spotlight off the other big things that are occurring. So find some changes that feel good, some shifts that you can make that are doable and that are small. It's giving you two things. It's taking some of the like intense focus on a thing that you're wanting to change that maybe you don't have as much control over. And it's giving you the preparation for a larger change, right? So that's the trick behind that. So the last thing I would offer is, okay, you're doing these things, you're reflecting about what's important to you, what's lighting you up, what do you want to be different. You're looking at within all of that and within the area you want to change, what's in your control? What can you do now? What do you have control over? You're also making space for maybe smaller, different kinds of changes in your life. And then the fourth piece I would say, which really isn't making the change from the seat you're in, it's still letting yourself move forward. If you're still like feeling like no matter what, Annie, I need to make a shift, I need to make a bigger transition. And you may not. After you do these steps, you might have like a different way of seeing the things that you're in. That could happen. Or you could say, that bought me some time, that shifted some things, that gave me a different way to sit in all of this, and I still need to make a change. Then start to make the timeline. Just playing with it, write it out. And what are the small next steps you can take? So what could the timeline look like for that shift, for that change? And what are some of the small next steps you can take? Next time, for the third video in this series, I will offer some real tools and tips for starting to make a big life or career transition and really getting some footholds around that. And again, my note, if you're in a space that's really not good for your being and your safety, you can do all of these things and at the same time get support, make a plan, get help to make that shift quicker and get yourself into a safe space for your own well-being. Thank you so much for dropping in to this video, and I hope that it can be supportive for the things that you're working on right now. Take care.